Howdy folks, it's Don't Drone Me Bro, and I'm here, obviously, with the Glock. You have heard me badmouth the Glock quite a bit over the past few years because, well, I hate them. So it's kind of funny that I finally admit that I'm owning a Glock. I don't hate the Glock really on any true technical merits, although it's kind of, the whole case head support thing is a little kind of iffy, and the Glock 19 is pretty much your quintessential concealed carry handgun. I've carried quite a few guns, ranging from 1911s to revolvers and other striker-fired guns. Okay, the Smith & Wesson M&P, full size. But the Glock 19 really is the quintessential concealed carry handgun, and for law enforcement, it's also a pretty common handgun as well. This is the Gen 4 variant, so it has a couple of distinct differences from the previous iterations of the Glock. It still has the stupid, terrible finger grooves, still has the poorly shaped trigger, and the terrible takedown procedure with pulling the trigger and these stupid little tabs here instead of actual takedown lever. However, there are some advantages compared to the Gen 3. The first, I would say, is definitely this mag release. It is a nice, large mag release. Obviously, we are empty. Very positive. Doesn't require too much pressure to press in. Also, I believe that these are ambidextrous, so you can switch it over to the other side. The slide lock still is not, even though it's the 21st century. Additionally, the grip texturing is, I think, I like it quite a bit. It's very similar to FN's FNS series, except slightly less aggressive. But it's also not as aggressive as Glock's own RTF2 texturing from a couple of years ago. So I think it strikes a pretty nice balance. Additionally, with the Gen 4s, you have the option of adding back straps that increase your length of pull here for the trigger, and also in the newer Gen 4s, they ship with 4 instead of 2, and they add a beaver tail. Personally, I'm not a fan of the Glock beaver tails, as all they do is just add on to this rather odd grip shape as it is. The grip force adapter, where it adds more meat just up here, and the beaver tail, is more to my liking, and I actually have one on order, and it should arrive here on Friday. And I'll probably do a video of that when it arrives. But for as far as changes between it and the Gen 3, I believe, and also the springs up front, the recoil spring assembly is changed. And the extractor everyone knows about. That caused a lot of issues with the earlier Gen 4s, and is still causing issues with Gen 3s. And Glock says that they're limp wristing. And I think that's a piece of cookie that's on my Glock here. But yeah, I had a couple of people over last night, so apparently me and my roommate need to keep cleaning up. But I want to do this video. So everyone knows what a Glock is, basically. It's a cheap-ass handgun. Let me rephrase that. Cheaply made handgun. It's inexpensively produced. It costs $100 to produce a Glock. Yet they retail for around $550, plus or minus about $25. As you can note, the sights on this are certainly not the factory, and they are upgrades. They are Trijicon HD with the yellow front insert, and they are excellent. I love the sight picture on these sights. I mean, we are pointing in a safe direction, and we are empty. Alright. Just excellent. This poor moose would have a bad time at this moment. Well, okay, now he would have a bad time. What else can I say about the Glock? Aside from the fact it just works, and it's pretty well known, and everybody and their mother who's ever done a gun YouTube video has done a video of the Glock. I've already talked about the grip and how much I hate that. The lack of ambidextrousness. What else can I talk about? Oh, the takedown procedure is just, in this day and age, kind of stupid. Pulling the trigger pull a slide back while pulling down on these terribly tiny little nubs that, of course, the aftermarket has a solution for. It's just, when you have firearms like SIGs and HKs and everybody else that you don't need to pull the trigger, that's a problem for me. Hopefully Glock will address this with a Gen 5, but with their current legal situation and Gaston Glock being quite possibly insane, probably not going to happen. He's more than willing to just kind of throw away his company, but he doesn't really care because I don't think he's really in control. But that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, Glock 19, about the perfect size handgun. Wish more manufacturers made a handgun this size, and at least were remotely as reliable. Is it the most reliable? No. Is it the most durable? No. But is it even the most concealable? No. But it's not excellent at any one thing, but it's good enough at a whole bunch of things to make it basically the quintessential handgun of the late 20th century and early 21st century. There's going to be a time, probably very shortly, where the Glock 19 is no longer the handgun that a lot of people look forward to. And a lot of that is due to Glock's own, I'm not going to say incompetence, but they just have not kept up, in my opinion. They're great at marketing and blaming people limp-wristing on the issues with this handguns, and there are quite a few with the Glock, and not just stupid things like the grip angle, which is not good, it is pretty crappy, but legitimate issues, and it's kind of a shame. But hey, every dog has his day, right? And this is not a real P30, this is just an airsoft one that I brought for a size comparison. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that now. HKP30. One thing that people talk about with these guns is the grip, and it's like, oh, the grip is too long, or in this airsoft is the exact same size, so it's a perfect facsimile aside from weight for a actual HKP30, and to an extent the VP9, the striker fired gun, which is a little bit longer. As you can see, well, I don't have a magazine installed here in the Glock, but it would only hang down about an extra 1/4 inch. So it's really, even though they have the same capacity, holding them trigger guard to trigger guard, it is quite a big difference. And part of that is because HKs tend to not overstuff their magazines. People like to call them an engineering company that just happens to make guns. And you can kind of see that because their 15-round magazine is the exact same size as a Smith & Wesson M&P 17-round magazine. However, people pretty much never complain about the spring life on an HK handgun, whereas on the Glocks, that can be an issue. Quite a few instructors recommend downloading the magazines by 1 round. Another thing about the Glocks and its magazines, they are polymer with the steel insert, but they crack here in the spine. Probably would not happen if these were steel magazines, which I think they should have done on the Gen 4, but I'm sure they wanted to ensure compatibility so they could keep using the same molds that they've been using for 25 years and just keep on raking in profit. But it probably would have helped with the shape of the grip, made it a little bit more rounded and conform a little bit more to the human hand, and possibly by having a little bit narrower, maybe even squeezing an extra round. You never know. But that's pretty much going to end my look at the Glock 19 and why I'm okay with it and don't absolutely hate it, but I just don't like it. But I own it anyway. Alright guys, thanks and gig 'em.